One of the most valuable lessons I've learned over the past decade in real estate is how essential it is to learn from the industry professionals. That's why I'm gathering professionals from across the country to share their experiences with you. This is a Gregerson's podcast, where experience and passion come together in the world of real estate. I'm Casey Gregerson, your host, and I'm very excited you're tuning into today's episode. As always, if you have questions for me or any of our guests, please reach out to me at casey@gregersonproperties.com. Now let's get started with today's podcast. Welcome in, guys. Here today with Mike Kehoe. We're going to be diving into some real estate stuff, diving into networking, and really diving one of, I think, Mike's superpowers is like building relationships and leveraging relationships and really just, being a great networker and really translating into something that can produce income or produce your career or open up so many doors. I think Mike has really mastered that. So Mike, excited to have you, buddy.
Yeah, Casey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Where are you at these days? Where are you living?
I live in Chicago, but we operate our business in North Carolina.
Cool. Well, give us a background from your real estate background to even any other kind of professional stuff you've done.
Yeah. So when I was 26, I had a series of sales jobs after college. And then when I was 26, I quit my job the day after our honeymoon, my wife and my honeymoon. Actually the day I got back, and started on the entrepreneurial journey. So I started a company in the fintech space, which stands for financial technology. We did credit card processing and we built some software systems. And then I later sold that in my early 30s. And now I'm in my mid 30s and I've gotten into real estate about 2.5 years ago or 3 years ago. And now I'm primarily wholesaling real estate and then also investing and building our own portfolio. So there's a lot of like micro stories and things like that between, that time from when I started in entrepreneurship and now, but I'll let you kind of lead us from here.
That's a great way to frame it up. You left your job the day after your honeymoon, man. Was that planned? Was that I'm just curious how all that went down.
Well, we were waiting to see how much we got in gifts, like monetary gifts. And at the time, we didn't have a lot of expenses, so it didn't have to be much, but I had already started kind of on the side, this credit card processing thing. And if you don't know about it, it's a business where you help businesses take credit cards. And the thing that I liked about it was it gave you residual income once you signed up in an account. And it was much like, owning rental property. You get residual income from the cash flow when you own a rental property. So I did that a little bit, had some little bit of income coming in from there, but we got $6,000 in gifts. And I just used that as my runway to start my business. And, for the first year, my wife supported us. Really second, year one and year two, my wife supported us on her salary at the time. We were only 26, like I said, so expenses were low. And then the third year, it just really went gangbusters and took off. So just had to stick with it for some time to make it work.
Very interesting. Okay. Yeah. So that's digging into there too. Cause a lot of people got to have this big runway or got to have all this ready before I could leave my job. But really you were I got $6,000 and I've got a spouse that's got enough that we can cover our expenses. And that was it, huh? You felt how about people talk about seed capital or what it was going to take to get your business off the ground. But I guess, was it kind of a model where you felt like you could start with relatively low investment and just stack it and build it?
Yeah. So it was really, it was very scrappy. I hated my jobs at the time. So I knew I needed to go do something else, try something else. After college, I had a tough time. It was a weird time in life and just trying to find out what I was good at and was not good at and what I liked and didn't like. I did not like the jobs that I had. And I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I had a rich neighbor when I was growing up that did credit card processing. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is something I should give a try. And he actually was a mentor of mine early on. And so, it was a low barrier to entry. You just really needed to go walk into the front door of restaurants, medical offices, things like that, try to get them to switch over to you. So really all you had to pay for was gas if you drove a car, which I didn't even. I was in Chicago, so I just walked door to door, make phone calls, those types of things. And our rent was only $1,300 a month at the time, which is super low for Chicago. And we just were economical in the way we spent our money. So we were able to make it last a long time. Still had a lot of fun though. But yeah, I don't think at the time there, I have this mistaken belief where I'm not, sometimes like I have an imposter syndrome, or like I'm not good enough for this, or I haven't hit that level to be able to raise money or things like that. But so at the time, I 100%, would not have had the confidence to take someone else's money to try to start my own business. So that wasn't even a thought. So I used just that capital that we had to give it a shot.
Yeah, man, I love it. And then the other part is the sales experience, right? So, and I'm curious how you've utilized that. It sounds like you immediately implemented that in that kind of startup, but even I'm sure you put it into real estate. And the reason I'm asking is, I don't know, when I first read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about like, hey, you should do a sales summer job, or like you got to learn, everybody's got to learn to sell. But to me, that was like, crap, I've never sold. I grew up, my background, I was an engineer, I was a math guy. I felt like I never knew how to sell, but once I started my first business, you just kind of figured it out. But I'm curious your experience and then how you've kind of parlayed that.
Yeah, I don't like the traditional sales, but I did learn the basics, in my jobs that I had when I left college and started to go into the real world. So I learned all the basics there, but it was really, sales is just all about discipline. Honestly, I still am not the best salesperson. Definitely not, probably not top 50%, but you just got to be disciplined and follow up, and just, when you get kicked out of a place because they don't want to talk to you and they don't like credit card processors or whatever you're doing, that'll affect you for sure, but don't let it affect you for too long, and go back to it. A lot of us, we get told no, and then we just never start again. We get hurt and don't want to feel that way anymore. And so we stop. But really, you just got to keep going, and you'll get better at your craft as you go. And that's kind of how, like, I've done everything through real estate and this and my sales jobs as well.
Yeah, love it. Cool. Mainly people talk about, hey, you got to be able to overcome fear and overcome being rejected, right? But like you just categorize that as, hey, or you just, I think, articulated it as, hey, you just have to have discipline. It's not necessarily overcoming that. It's just like, hey, you're just going to be disciplined enough to not give up, right? And go do it again.
Yeah, because I, see stuff on social, things like that, where it's like, oh, you can't let that bother you. Everything bothers me. I'm a super sensitive person. I always have been. And so, but you have to have that discipline to keep going back.
I would not have assumed that about you. But being that type of person, how do you continue to you've talked about it a little bit, but anything else you've done to when you do take it personal? And
yeah, there's so many different tools that I have. I'm huge into like leveraging tools to be able to live my life like intentionally. And so, those types of situations where, I get thrown out of a business or whatever, I'll make a phone call sometimes, like somebody that's like been there, done that, or is super supportive, and I know will have the right words to, keep me going. And then also, I've done a lot of emotional intelligence training and those types of things. So just like really feeling it and knowing that that's like, it's not a bad thing. Those feelings aren't a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing that I'm sensitive. Just knowing that I'm highly sensitive and that I feel those feelings deeper sometimes than most people is helpful. Just like knowledge is power. I really do believe that in that case. And so just being able to be like, okay, you're hurt. Clearly being able to label it, it's okay, you're not going to die, and move on to the next one, because we all have these feelings and things, like we all are running away from, the lion or tiger or something that's chasing us. We all feel like, we still have caveman brains and feelings and those types of things. So I'm not going to die in this situation. Let's just keep going, and maybe it'll hurt less in the future. And it does a little bit, but it still hurts.
That's a cool takeaway. I loved everything you said, but my big takeaway is calling somebody or having somebody supportive, like ready to go when you feel like that. Because I'm with you. Like I might watch something inspirational on Instagram or Facebook or something, or just having the right person to talk to that gives you perspective. You're right. That literally, you forget about it, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's also bad things that you like immediately go to, like food. If I know I'm like going to the pantry and I'm not even hungry, it's because I'm feeling something. I'm like, okay, what are you feeling here? Like I'm trying to, it's the soft addictions, as they say. And so like that type of thing, or just like trying to get myself distracted doing something else or whatever, the more like the better things for me are calling someone, going on a walk, those types of giving myself space, those types of things.
Yeah, man. Well, let's transition too. So when you kind of sold out that company, and then any stuff maybe you did in between, but then specifically like what led you into real estate and kind of got that kicked off or started that journey?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because like I sold my company and it should have been like you think it'd be one of the best times of your life, but it was really a tough time for me because I really didn't have a lot of direction and I didn't know what I was going to do next. And so I was really like just kind of fumbling around, trying out different business ideas, and none of them really hit. And I would spend a ton of time at the gym. There's like this gym that I go to that's also like a social club in Chicago. I met a lot of people in real estate at the gym. And one of the guys in particular kind of took me on under his wing. It's a long story, but he turned out to be a crook, but at least it got me into real estate. He did end up taking a lot of my money, but it got me my first steps into real estate. So we did some projects together. I funded the projects and we did about 10 projects here or so in Chicago. And then it ended up like pretty badly, but I had caught the real estate bug. And so I was going to, networking events and I was meeting with people on bigger pockets and things like that. And then I eventually met my partner. And then we kind of, decided we didn't want to invest in real estate in Chicago and, went and searched for another market, found Raleigh, Durham in North Carolina, and the rest is really history.
Talk through that though. So, I mean, a lot to unpack there, but the bad experience, right? Most people, that's game over. They never go any further. So like, how did you overcome and have the mindset to be like, man, it's just my first dealing in real estate. You get screwed.
Yeah, I see it now. At first, it was like really bad. It hurt really, really bad because I thought he was my friend and he had done it to a lot of people. Like he kind of like get past that because it was really bogging me down. And now I just see it as like it was almost the same price as an Ivy League MBA or graduate program. So I see it as my master's degree. I learned a ton on what not to do. And it got me into real estate. I literally would not be having this conversation with you right now if I would not have met him. So at the end of the day, I'm actually pretty appreciative that I met him. I lost low six figures, but I've made much more than that in the time since then in real estate. And I would not have. I don't know what I'd be doing right now. I'd probably still be fumbling around trying to figure something out.
Interesting. Well, how about your perspective there on, so basically you were either a partner or a private money lender. What advice would you give knowing that, you've been burned? Those other people thinking about lending money, what due diligence would you recommend?
Such a great question because he was really good. Like he had duped his bankers, his hard money lenders, everybody, his insurance brokers. So he would take me around to those offices and those people at those offices, those super professional people would say, oh, you're in with the right guy. You're the perfect guy to learn from. Like everybody was giving me this validation outside of like that I respected, I guess. And you would respect, anybody would respect these people, but they got screwed at the end of the day as well. They got left holding some of the bag as well. But there were little red flags, that I saw. I'd go to his office and there would be papers everywhere. He had he wouldn't do any formulas when it came to he had no set formula when he would go look at a property. He would just make offers willy-nilly and just not even, he had no intention of what he was going to do the property or how much it was going to cost. He would just kind of throw out a number. I was like, okay, break that down for me. And he couldn't break it down. And these are all little things that I noticed that were red flags that I should have caught on to. And then I didn't ask to see his financials. It's a scary thing. It's a weird thing to ask to see someone's financials, but you should absolutely do that. You should ask to see their profit and loss statements on deals. He would have never had a profit and loss statement on a specific deal ever. And I should have asked for that. I knew he didn't have it, but I just wanted to believe it so bad. And everybody else was validating it for me. So just like the little red flags, listen to them.
And ask, well, it sounds like, and ask follow-ups because maybe that would have led you down a trail of uncovering more.
Yeah. So you really got to pay attention though. Really definitely ask those follow-ups and don't let them, because usually those types of people are super charismatic and are able to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. And so the little red flags that you see, just be hypersensitive, hyper aware to those things so that you can continue to dig in and ask and protect yourself from making a bad decision. I mean, it was so bad for me. It was such a mind F. I don't know if you swear on this private, but I don't think you do, but mind fuck with that process because I actually went to a lender event where he was showcased from this hard money lender. They had brought him to the event as the person they were lending to, like an example of someone they were lending them to. And they had about 100 super wealthy people in the room. And it was like, this is this guy. He does very well for us. We lend him your money. Like he's a really good operator. And so I went with him and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody thinks this guy's amazing. But at the end of the day, he wasn't, right? He had this Ponzi scheme going. So there were red flags that I just didn't listen to, and make sure that you do.
That's great feedback. Yeah, for somebody who's lived it. Well, let's get into what we talked about at the beginning, kind of the networking and like building relationships. So like I'd love to just hear how that's evolved and then how you leverage that. Cause I know you don't just do it in real estate, you do it across the board. When did that kind of start? I'm sure you've had it probably since birth, right?
Yeah, I don't know, probably, innately, but when I started my business, we made most of our money through referral partnerships. So like once I realized that, going door knocking was not the best way to spend my time, and the best way to spend my time was with people that already had relationships with the people that I wanted to meet. And a lot of them, I started focusing on referral relationships. And so I would go take bankers out to lunch, lenders out to lunch, people that were working with business owners, drinks, whatever, and try to get them to refer me business through credit card processing. And then I would give them, a fee for referring me. So I did that in that space, but I kind of transferred. I do that in the real estate space. We have, we're a wholesale company. We have investors that are on our investor email list. We have about 1,000 on our investor email list. And so what I do is I partner with like cost segregation specialists, property management companies, insurance companies, those types of companies. First of all, you have to add value to these people, right? Like you can't just be like trying to force something down their throat that they're never going to use or have no interest in. And so what we do is we partner with people and companies that are going to add value to their lives and their businesses, to our investors' lives and businesses. So our investors, they're buying single family rentals, small multifamily, those types of things. They should be doing cost segregation, which is going to save them a ton on their taxes. They obviously are getting insurance. They need a hard money lender. All of those things, we vet all of those good vendors out for them, and we add that value by referring them. So we'll just in emails, we're not going to sell hard on it, but we're going to say, hey, we have a great hard money lender that we use for our own business. We know that money is hard to come by right now. Check these guys out. And then in turn, we set up a referral relationship. In turn, we'll get a super small fee for referring that person. And so we'll add value on that side, and then we'll also add value on the hard money side too there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And then I'm curious too, and I'm sure it's some relationships, maybe not all, but are you able to leverage like buyers, for example, like getting more or them sharing other buyers or introducing you to where they're referring people back? Like, cause you're trying to bring your buyers value, right? But say that hard money lender or that, it might not work as well with a cost seg company, but those guys are also, hey, by the way, I've got this other guy who's buying in Charlotte.
Really great point. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, they are also referring us business. So it's a reciprocal relationship. So anybody that closes that we don't actually have on our list already or that's buying a lot of deals for the hard money lender example, they're referring investors back to us. So it's win relationship. And it also like builds our brand as well. Like this company, a lot of companies, you have to think about it. Do you want to just serve deals to your investors, or do you want to be, like the go-to company or person for them when they need anything relating to real estate, right? You want to be, a resource for them. And we want to be a resource. Like we want to have a meaningful company. I think there's a lot of wholesalers out there right now that it's very transactional, super transactional, and they're not building a lot of the relationship. And you build a lot of the relationship when you're providing and offering value, opposed to just like, hey, I got a deal. Do you want it or no? And then if they don't want it, okay, talk to you the next time I got a deal. That type of thing. You want to stay in front of them.
Yeah, man, that's huge. Especially with, right now with everything happening in the market where people are pulling back. Have you guys seen a big difference now is with where buyers and investors have pulled back because of interest rates, that now they're still maybe taking a harder look at your deal, or is it, I'm sure it's still a challenge.
It was really rough at the end of the year, but now, to be honest, it's been a phenomenal first quarter. I think we've done more deals than we've ever done in a quarter this quarter. And so it's a lot to, I contribute a lot of it to the work we did during last quarter when we were having a down market. We had a hard look at ourselves. We put systems into place that we're now seeing the benefits from. I heard a quote, my partner and I heard a quote over the last quarter, and it was I forget who it was, but you don't raise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And it's totally true, right? So if you raise your systems, you're just raising your floor. And so what we did during the down market is we just raised our floor. So we put systems in place on the sales side, on the dispo side, and just like work really hard at systematizing that. And then now we have a higher floor. And so now we can't fall any further than that floor.
Nice. Curious, what systems did you guys focus on?
Acquisitions is dialed in right now. So we did a coaching program for acquisitions, or like more of a coaching, like a mentorship, I guess, one-on-one mentorship with Ren. And that was really helpful. We weren't doing a daily huddle before, and so we're doing a daily huddle now. Our KPIs and scoreboard and scorecard are like on steroids compared to what they were before. Like we're keeping, a lot of great metrics and showing the team and making sure that they see them on a daily basis. And then we do training, a lot of training. We weren't doing much training before. Honestly, it was just the market, you could be lazy and make a ton of money. You didn't have to be trained up and you could make a ton of money. And now it's like we really focus on training, listening to their calls, giving our feedback, doing a 1-hour training session after a huddle on every Wednesday, and doing other things there. So that's what we've done to really raise the level there.
That's a great answer. I'm curious too, because I know you're a sub 2 guy, creative finance. How have you guys started to weave in kind of creative finance into your systems, or were they always there? Have you scaled that up, or?
We have scaled. So we're on track for like 1 to 2 creative deals for our own portfolio a month at this point. So what we did, we're in a really unique position. We have one guy in our business that he's the most experienced in the wholesale world. We're able to recruit him. Actually, we were able to hire him when he was moving to Raleigh-Durham from Washington, and he was a wholesaler in Washington. And so he had like 5 years of experience wholesaling before I even did. And so he's got a super high real estate IQ, very smart guy, very good with the seller finance stuff. And he was doing a lot of our other sales guys were calling him, asking him questions if they couldn't get a hold of me and that type of thing. And he was giving a lot of direction. And so we were like, you know what, we're going to give this a shot. You're bringing in a lot of our deals, but I think he was on the same level. So he was an acquisitions manager. You're bringing a lot of our deals, probably 50% of our deals, but I think you could help our acquisitions team that you're currently working with if you move to the manager role. And I think you could help them do more deals, and we probably potentially do more deals than we're doing right now, even if we take away the deals that you're doing personally, via just having you there supporting them. And what happened was we do more deals now that he's in that position, and he's super good on seller and creative finance. So he's having those calls with our sellers. And so he's locking those up. And I think next year, hopefully we can do 2 a month and keep going from there.
Man, this is a personal technical one, but do you let the more junior people in acquisitions negotiate seller finance, or do they just be like, hey, this is a seller finance candidate, kick it up to your manager?
Yeah, the latter. So they don't talk about it. Their real estate IQ is not super high. I mean, it's decent, but and it's getting there, but we just kind of want him to handle all of those conversations. And so he's handling all those conversations for us.
Because that's just a challenge. There's so many deals that are like that, and it's how do you create a system and a training to where other people could close creatively? That's what I'm struggling with.
For sure, it's tough. And the thing is we're very generous at our company. And if you show us that you're bought in, we're going to do things for you that I don't think a lot of other companies do. So this guy, he's pivotal in our company that I'm talking about, the guy that we just promoted and helps get us our seller finance deals. We actually started to give him equity in those deals. He has to bring money we're offering to give him equity, or giving him an opportunity to get into the deal. He still has to invest, in the deal. Like, so like, the entry fee, we call it, right, is 20 grand or 15 grand. Let's say we just split it between the three of us. So it's 5 grand, 5 grand, 5 grand. Then he owns 30% of the deal. So he's building his portfolio. And I don't think without that being the case, I don't think we'd do as many creative deals because he's just not that, he wouldn't be that focused on them. So I think there's other ways to do it other than give them equity, because that's kind of a slippery slope. We really, really do trust this guy, and he's a good friend and good partner. And so we did that, but you got to really vet it and just make sure that that's a good fit before you do something like that.
Well, let's go back to the networking a little bit. Just curious, you sharing more of how, just the other strategies, other tactics, other ways that you kind of maybe, like you mentioned the discipline, right? When you were working sales, the discipline of like, keep going and if you get rejected, come back. But I'm curious, like even like the cadences of like, I try to spend this much time a day, or I try to go out to lunch X times, or what are some kind of tips you have to really, for somebody really maybe starting to try to go to 0 to 1 on like building a better network and doing it like authentically?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I think, and I could be better at this. I was really good at it back when I was doing credit card processing because my entire business relied on it. But honestly, I'm a big fan of keeping your own personal CRM. And so like keeping your own contacts in a CRM, it sounds silly, but keeping your friends in the CRM, keeping your vendors in the CRM, referral partners, people that you meet at masterminds like CG, like that type of thing. And then figuring out what cadence you want to, like how you want to get in front of them and how often you want to get in front of them. So like say it's like someone at CG and you're like, wow, I really connect with this person. I want to connect with this person once a month. Put a notification in the CRM and tell you to reach out to them once a month. And then then hopefully if you're disciplined enough, you stay on that and you follow up with that person. And it can be something like, I really appreciate when it's somebody that, I do meet at a mastermind or something like that. Occasionally I'll get someone to reach out and be like, hey, hope you had a great week, have a great weekend, or crush it, like hope you crush it this week on a Monday or something. Or like if I think of something that I always put our notes and our conversations into the CRM as well. And so I know what to talk about too. Be like, hey, how was volleyball tournament for your daughter this past weekend or something like that. Just build the relationship, stay in front of them and be intentional about it. Because if you don't do that CRM type of thing, they're just going to go into your phone book and then you're never going to really do it most likely if you don't set up notifications for yourself.
And keep going, but build on that. Have you started to build in a little bit of automation into, and not necessarily a personal one? And that's actually the question, right? When do you balance automated text or an automated email or an automated piece of like content or article to go out to them?
Yeah, it's super different between the personal that I was talking about and like the referral, because a lot of the referral relationships do turn into personal relationships. So it is difficult. Like I don't really send out automated content to like my referral partners. We'll probably put them on our like buyers list if they're cool with that, like so that they kind of see those emails. But as long as for me at least, as long as I put a notification that I need to reach out to this person and I'll get notified and be like, hey, it's been 3 weeks since you've reached out to this person, I'll think of something that's relatable to talk about, or just like, hey, what's up? How have you been? Like that type of thing. And then usually you'll get on a phone call and then you give your updates about what you've been doing, what's been going well for you, and you talk about what's been going well for them. And then you can kind of like start to talk about how you can work together, right? You don't, it's a dating process, right? You don't go on your first date and ask the girl to get married, right? That's weird. So you just kind of like, you date each other for a little bit, make sure your core values align. That's huge. Just don't pick anyone to refer, like don't refer any business. They're not all going to be a fit for you, right? So they have to align with your core values and you have to align with their core values, and you just have to get a good feeling. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. So yeah, going back to long answer to your question, I don't really automate much, but I personalize it and get automated notifications to reach out.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And you've got the reminder, make it personal, goes that much farther. Yeah, just like the time of it. Do you feel like do you allocate a certain amount of time or any guidance there to different people of like, hey man, if you're busy in operations working 40 hours a week, or maybe you should dedicate 5 hours of like, hey, any metrics there?
And I should, like I still have that little, I don't know what you call it, but ego or whatever. That's kind of like, whenever I'm not sometimes I don't feel like it's not productive to be doing that type of thing. And I just need to be busy to be productive, and I still fight that, which is not the case whatsoever. The most valuable work is really like connecting with those other people, doing the high level stuff, at least the position I'm in right now, thinking of ways to grow the business, reading, intentionally thinking about how I can implement that into the business, those types of things. But I still fight the like, okay, you're not busy. You need to be finding something to do to make it seem like you're busy when there's really no one looking over your shoulder or anything like that. It doesn't matter, but I do fight that.
Even too, I'll bring a specific one, like Sub 2. So it's a huge community. You could spend hours networking, and honestly, you would get hours of value. Just curious, maybe use that as an example of like, how do you leverage a great platform like that that's been created to ultimately have a community and have relationships, have referrals? Like, how do you even start to attack something like that?
Yeah, like the sub 2 community, I never thought, like some of the people that I'm able to get on the phone with, I'm just like, I didn't know there were people like you in this community. Because there's a lot of people that have never done a deal in the community, which good for them that they made the investment in themselves and they're trying to build a portfolio or whatever they're doing. But then there's also people that have done tons of deals or done commercial deals or have done, things that you want to do and that are further along than you. And sometimes I get on a call with someone, and sometimes it'll be a waste of time. Like Frank, it's like, okay, this was not worth it. And these people really don't hit my core values and I don't hit theirs. And, we're probably not going to be friends. But then there's other people that I really, get along with and see they're doing really cool things and our personalities mesh and we have the same core values and just kind of build a relationship from there.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Like the times when, it feels like you're spinning your wheels or you're not doing it, but any more on that of like how you just, I guess that's just part of it, huh? You're going to spend some time where it's going to be not worthwhile, but the times that you are and you connect.
Yeah, I mean, you got to find your tribe. And I don't mean by like, I don't mean that if you've done 0 deals, it's a waste of time. Because I really do like to mentor people. Like I like to talk about what I've done, about the successes and failures that I've had so that other people don't have to go through those failures and they can learn, they can take a shortcut. And I really do like teaching people that are starting at 0 about the business. So I'm not talking about that. It's just people that like, I don't know, that just I don't get along with, I guess. I wouldn't like hang out with outside of business or choose to be associated with. There are those people out there, and that's just going to happen. You're going to have those throwaway conversations, but just know that like back in the day, like I would have just tried to leverage every meeting and every conversation and keep in touch or say I'm going to follow up when I know I'm not going to follow up. And now it's just like choose my tribe, like who's a good fit for me and my personality and my business, and then kind of like build it from there and see if date a little bit and build a relationship that way. So yeah, you're going to waste your time, but you're also going to have some really great conversations too.
Yeah, just part of it. Well, cool. Well, the other one I'd love to pick your brain on is like when it comes to a little bit more on raising private money and kind of how you approach those situations. And honestly, from both sides, whether you're the person raising the private money or whether you're the one lending, and kind of how you work referrals there.
Yeah, I, do it off of like I'm not as consistent as you on social media. I wish I was, but I'm just not good at that. But when I do show the deals that I do have or like what I'm doing on a daily basis occasionally, I have people reach out to me that are interested. Everybody's interested in real estate. HGTV is a thing for a reason. Like people are just interested in real estate for some reason. And by sharing yourself and sharing what you're doing on social or in a conversation or something like that, you're going to have interest from people. And so you just kind of follow that path that I was talking about earlier, where you don't ask them to get married right away. You start to date, you start to talk about what are you interested in? Like what interests you about real estate? Like, have you ever do a real estate deal? Do you own your house? Like, what are your goals? Like, or what are you doing for retirement? Those types of things. And it'll just be a back and forth conversation. And then they'll naturally ask what you do and how you do it. And then you can kind of share, and then you talk about how other people are investing in your deals. And then, naturally they'll probably ask if they can invest in a deal as well and ride along. And so that's kind of how I do it in most instances.
And have you figured out, I'm just curious feedback on like referral programs, because when you talked early on, I'm like, how do you leverage different referral programs? And then it's a delicate line, right? So for example, the self-directed IRAs, like I brought that one up. Hey, like I want to bring value to our investors by giving them a self-directed IRA company. So I wouldn't have a conversation with them. But it's like obviously they work with investors all the time, trying to make it that kind of referral go back and forth both ways. But then they have guidelines and
Yeah, they definitely have guidelines. That space is a little different. And nothing I've done has been like super highly regulated to this point. I guess my advice there would just be to like those self-directed IRA companies, like whoever your point of contact is there, obviously build a relationship with them, take them out, go golfing, really try to do whatever you can to showcase the success that you've had. Like show them what you've done. That's when I invest in a deal, like when I invest in syndications, which I do, I just invest in the best people, like the best operators. The deal doesn't matter to me as much. It does matter, of course, but the deal doesn't matter to me as much as like, okay, has this person been successful? Are they conservative in their underwriting? You know, are they intelligent? And do I get along with this person? And so you just have to hit all those metrics and markers. And, you know, eventually don't ask on the first date, the first golf outing and be like, hey, can you refer me people? It's like, hey, Bill, we've been friends for like 2 months now. Like, I really enjoy your company. You see what I do. Do you have anybody that might be interested in investing in real estate that comes through your company or whatever? And just take it slow. And, you know, who knows, maybe they'll bring you some investors. You can't refer them money though. I don't think there's like regulations wouldn't allow that. You can't get a fee for it, right?
But to your point, I mean, it's like you bringing them value, you're building a relationship to where they're not expecting a fee. I know that's another one I've been balancing too. It's like, hey, if you know anyone looking for this, like, please do. Like, but I can't offer them a referral fee. So I'm just curious too, any ideas you have there of like, I mean, the easiest one is like, hey, we've been bringing each other value. I'm going to find, hopefully you know me well enough that like, I'm either going to bring you more clients or there's going to be some way that I'm going to bring you value down the road. But like, but you're making an ask of, hey, do you want to make an introduction to me of anybody you think that might be interested in this investment or this property, being a lender on this property?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult when you can't offer a fee. I think you can add value in other ways than like referring them business. Like, of course, refer them business when you can. But if you enhance their lives in some way or whatever, like if they're overweight or something like that, and you talk to them and be like, hey, I'm going to go work out, or I'm going to go on a hike, or I'm going to do this. I'm clearly really into fitness, and you don't say that, but you like, obviously you are by your content and who you are, but like just help them get more disciplined, stay on track, or they like to go out to eat, take them out to eat. Just try to act like you're dating that person or you want to be friends with them, and you do. I'm not saying you don't. Like, don't do that to somebody that you don't want to be friends with, because it'll come off extremely phony. But just build a relationship, right? Just add value to their lives outside of work, right? So like send them things that you've talked about, you know, if they like whatever, send them information, a news article. If they like a certain football team, send a news article on the football team or whatever. But just there's other ways to add value other than just work. Fees do go a long way though. Being able to pay a fee it does go a long way. So if it's an industry or something that you can do that, like offer that up. Some people are a little shy away from that, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Just the last thing before I wrap this up is like fee motivation to make money or motivation of just to help and or get other value. Two different things. Is it really just maybe personality driven or insight into that?
Yeah, so like when you can give a fee, whether someone is interested in it or isn't. So when I know when I'm doing credit card processing and I'm working with a banker, like they're either they have an entrepreneurial bone, or they may invest in real estate, or they may do certain things on the side. They're probably going to accept a fee because they know that like multiple revenue streams is a good thing. Whereas a lot of people that are like very, very like company, they're a company man. When they're a company man, they're probably not going to take it, and they don't do anything outside of that. They're probably not going to take it.
It's like a rich dad, poor dad example, right? It's like the rich dad is, he's going to be more inclined to like, hey, I want some residual fees, but the poor dad is going to be like maybe a little bit more related, not necessarily thinking about, I need to get some income coming in.
Yeah, they act like, a lot of people act like it's illegal, and it's just like, it's not. I'm not in a business that's regulated at all. I mean, the real estate side of things definitely is, and I would not do that there. But like, if it's not regulated, it's okay. And so, yeah, I've kind of worked that way. But there are times when they won't take it, but I've built really great relationships and they just want to add value to their customer. So, the other ways that you can do that is help them add value to their customer. Maybe you're not able to maybe you're not able to bring them actual customers, but maybe you're able to give them content. You're able to do some sort of like video for them on how to do something in the real estate space or something like that can really help them add value to their current customer base and show to new customers. That's also a good thing. And that's kind of the case. One other idea I have is also that person that you're talking about, like the self-directed IRA, they're the custodian. If they're interested in real estate, tell them, hey, I'll take you along on this deal. Like you're not going to be part of the equity on it. I'll open the kimono. I'll show you everything we're doing on this deal. If you're interested in real estate, I'll show you how I go from A to Z. I'll show you the construction budget, why I like this deal and why it's going to make sense. And just like provides a lot of value. And if you charged for it, it would cost a lot of money.
That's a good point. Just open up full transparency, check out the process.
Yeah, like this is what I'm doing. We're doing cool things. People are super interested in real estate, really interested in real estate. Just show them what you're doing. And then, that'll add a ton of value, I think.
Cool, man. Well, ton of takeaways. I think my number one, and I'll let you summarize anything else you want to add, Mike, but a lot of them are good, but I love the dating one. It's like, that's just a good frame of reference when you're networking or wanting to build a relationship, is treat it like dating and get back in that mindset of like, don't rush it. It's going to take time. You're going to go on some dates you don't like, but you're also going to eventually find the right one, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got to showcase your personality and that you're a stand-up person before you ask for anything from somebody. And also vice versa. You need to look into that as well. Because like early on in my career, maybe there were a lot of people that could have made me a lot of money. And I tried to introduce them to a friend of mine or a customer of mine, and it didn't work out because all I was looking at was the dollar signs. And you should not just look at that. You need to make sure that you build a tribe that is of the same core values as yourself.
Love it. Man, cool. Anything else you want to add, Mike?
No, man, this was super fun. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, where can people find you, Mike? Instagram, where's the best people to reach you?
My Instagram is I am Mike Kehoe, and that's Kehoe. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm the owner of Venture Stack. You can also email me at mike@venture-stack.com, and I'd be happy to connect.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you coming on
today.
As you may have learned by tuning into this episode of Gregor Sense, the easiest way to make real estate investing hard is by going at it alone. So as you continue learning and seeking knowledge of the industry, I want to encourage you to build relationships with other professionals who are passionate about real estate. Whether that's an agent, a business owner, or a managing investor like myself, there are pros that want to see you succeed and are willing to help you by sharing their experience. You can always reach me by visiting CaseyGregerson.com and scheduling a call. I look forward to connecting with you and continuing to share my experience with you here on Gregor Sense Mobile. Until next time, I'm Casey Gregerson. Thanks for tuning in.